To whom much is given, much is expected. The Bank of Industry has been entrusted with a lot of the nation's resources. Different arms, both international bodies have entrusted their resources with the Bank of Industry, and so as a responsible institution, they held their AGM, the 53rd of it, and there the report of how they've been using the resources was analyzed. One of them is that the bank has recorded a 53.4% growth in its income, and the income rose from about 10 billion naira in 2011 to over 15 billion naira from the activities of the year 2012. That's how we're going to start this episode of BOI Weekly at the AGM of the Bank of Industry held in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The 53rd Annual General Meeting of the Bank of Industry presented the much-needed opportunity for stock-taking in the midst of its numerous activities. It was the duty of the Chairman Shareholders Committee, Mohammed Dikwa, to share details of the work they had done in 2012. He began with the figures representing the activities of the Structuring and Financing Fund scheme. It recorded a 5% increase in investment from 2011 to 2012.
While the bank expands its network of partnership locally and internationally, it shall remain existing collaborations program with its domestic and foreign development partners in the public and private sector, and also pay considerable attention to the federal government priority sectors. The Bank of Industry will continue to work closely with other development finance institutions and development promotion agencies to achieve a higher efficiency in the process of pursuing Nigerian economic development programs. It is delightful to note that BOI consolidated need as a highly competent national development finance institution has continued to reflect in its increasing involvement in the Nigerian's economic development process, through which various existing and new development initiatives at local, national, and international levels. Some of the remarkable achievements recorded in 2012 include the value of the various matching funds with different state governments and number of partnering states grew concurrently between June 2011 and August 2012.
More beneficiaries, obviously employment figures should be higher.
The total funds disbursed under the Restructuring and Financing Fund scheme increased by 5% from 208 billion as at December 2011 to 229 billion as at December 2012. The number of beneficiaries also increased from 498 to 534 during the period under reference. A total of 23 commercial banks and 1 development finance institution participated in the scheme. The scheme has enhanced the liquidity of participating banks considerably. The scheme covers 12 broad-based sectors, with chemical, plastic sectors having the highest exposure of 30.42%, while the transportation has the least of 0.46%.
The 300 billion naira intervention fund and subsequently increase in power generated was another major point in the year.
The total funds disbursed under the 300 billion power and aviation funds increased by 23% from 147 billion as at December 2012. The turnover of the beneficiaries also increased from 9 to 28 during the same period. Total power generated by assisted projects is put at 747.7 megawatts, representing about 18.7% of the total current power generation in the country at about 4,000 megawatts. The scheme has helped in promoting the development of long-term bank credits for infrastructure financing and institutional capacity building for financing power projects within the banking sector. Beneficiaries under the scheme have been able to increase their investment in other assets or expanded their revenue base as a result of the lower debt obligations, which they now pay. The scheme has leveraged private investment into Nigerian power sector. Total investment cost of project finance about 181.8 billion, out of which 90 billion or 49.7% was from the Power and Aviation Fund.
The bank approved loans worth 58.6 billion naira in the cotton textile sector.
The bank approved loans amounting to 58.6 billion to 74 companies in cotton, textile and garment industry. 50.9 billion has been disbursed to 48 projects so far. The federal government Rice Intervention Fund has 10 billion, of which 5 billion has been approved to 6 companies and 2.8 billion has been disbursed prior to the temporary suspension of the funds by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. As at the period under review, BUA has approved 64 projects valued at 15.3 billion and disbursed 9.7 billion under the National Automotive Council managed funds. Cement funds, the sum of 0.719 billion has so far been committed out of the 9 billion released to BOI by the federal government to support cement manufacturers.
Other monies were also approved in other sectors.
259 microcredit valued at 1.5 billion were approved within the year. This brought the cumulative value of microcredit loans to 5.2 billion, 983 beneficiaries since the commencement of the microcredit lending initiative. This amount excludes microcredit given by the bank through the microfinance bank. Cumulative direct and indirect jobs expected to be created and served through the bank initiative was in excess of 1,250,000.
There were also other programs by the Bank of Industry in 2012.
The bank has also embarked on some innovative programs and activities aimed at stimulating foreign direct investments into the real sector of the Nigerian economy, such as the Business and Investment Summit on Nigeria held in Turkey, Japan, SME Live Banking Forum in collaboration with Western Union African Diaspora Marketplace and 10 local commercial banks. This was to promote access to finance by giving SMEs the platform to present viable business plans to a host of finalists selected from the representative bank for funding consideration. Creation of enabling environment to support existing and new industries. Work in progress on small hydropower initiative with the following states: Kwara, Niger, Gombe, Osun, Ondo, Delta, Ikiti, and Edo, in collaboration with UNIDO. Development of external market for Nigerian entrepreneurs through overseas exhibitions and trade shows such as the Summer Fancy Food Show, Washington, D.C., June 2012, among several support programs.
For its outlook, the bank desires to be made a mega development financial institution, as this will fasten its commitment to fulfill its mandate through global best practices. The managing director, Ms. Evelyn Oputo, also says that the small and medium enterprises will continue to be a major beneficiary of their facilities.
Well, one of the things that we're proud of in the Bank of Industry is being able to empower the unbanked. We continue to deal with the small businesses that are very challenged, not just in terms of giving them additional funding, but also capacity, and trying to cluster them by providing an enabling environment as much as we can. For small businesses here and in any economy, it's difficult, but it's even more so where the infrastructural inadequacies are so glaring. So we're doing all sorts of things to ensure that the capacity building is not just for them, but also to affect the environment, how they do business.